In this video lesson, we're going to create a new Spring Boot project, which is going to be our Spring Cloud API Gateway. And to create a new project, we can use either Spring Initializer tool, or I can create a new project right here using Spring Tool Suite. So I will go to File and then choose New and choose Spring Starter Project to create a new one. I'll call this project API Gateway. This is going to be Maven project. I will leave most of the things unchanged here. Java 11, package in jar, language Java. The group of this project will be just the same, com apps developer block.estore. Artifact ID will be API Gateway. Version I will not change, description I will not change, but the package name I will change. Currently it is com apps developer block.estore, and then I will remove discovery server and I will use API Gateway. Alright, so the package is com apps developer block.estore.api gateway. Now I'll click on next, and now is the time to provide dependencies. And to make our project work as Spring Cloud API Gateway, there is one very important dependency to add, and we can search for it by typing gateway. And here's our dependency, Spring Cloud Routing Gateway. I will select it, and this is what will make our Spring Boot project an API gateway. And with the help of this dependency, our Spring Boot application will be able to route incoming HTTP requests to destination microservices. Alright, Spring Cloud API Gateway is also designed to work with reactive applications, and it requires Webflux dependency. So I will search for a new dependency by filtering a list of dependencies using Webflux. And the dependency that I will need to add is called Spring Reactive Web. I'll check it. So Webflux is part of Spring Framework, and it is built on top of Project Reactor to make our applications work asynchronously. And in this video course, I do not use Reactive Framework, but if you continue to use Spring Cloud API Gateway, you will eventually write reactive code, and you will need to deal with reactive programming. And if you are not familiar with reactive programming, then this is a good opportunity to start looking at it. Alright, so another dependency that I will need to add is Eureka Discovery Client. I will search for it by typing Eureka, and here's our Eureka Discovery Client. I will also check it. So Spring Cloud API Gateway will also be Eureka client, and it will need to register with Eureka. And once the project is created, we will need to update application properties to make our API Gateway register with Eureka as a client. So now my project is ready to be generated. I will just click on Finish button, and I have a new project, API Gateway. I will expand it, and I will open application properties file, which is inside of source main resources. Open application properties, and the very first property that I will add will be Spring application name, and I will call it API Gateway. And with the next property, I will configure port number. I'll make my API Gateway run on port number 80 and 82, but I will eventually make it run on port 80. But during the development time, I use a different port number. So I will make it run on port number 80 and 82. It can be a different port number. It doesn't need to be 80 and 82. And if you select a different port number, just make sure it is available. And the next property will be Eureka Client Service URL Default Zone. And the value I will copy from Products Microservice. I do already have it. I'll go to application properties of Products Microservice, and I'll just copy this URL and paste it into application properties file of my API Gateway like this. So it's pointing to the main and the port number on which Eureka is running, and then /Eureka. Alright, so we have basic configuration ready. One more step that we need to do is to annotate our main application class with one annotation that is called Enable Discovery Client. So I'll go to source main Java, open main application file of API Gateway, and I will add one more annotation right above the Spring Boot application annotation. Like this. And I will need to import it So now our API gateway is a client of Discovery service, and it will be able to register with Eureka and fetch Eureka registry so that it can load balance HTTP requests between running microservices. And in the following video lesson, we will configure our API gateway to route HTTP request to a destination microservice. Let's continue.